My theme song. We're supposed to be recording us.
Todd said?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
He's probably just playing it at his house and recording it from his house.
Okay.
He can set it up and it's already it's
Hey, we look
done.
pretty good, don't we? Look.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like you know what you're doing here, right?
Yeah. Fake it till you make it.
Y'all hear okay?
Yep.
Stand by. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome into the meeting place for a Thursday. And yes, you are correct. You do hear from the tax man this morning. We've got Mr. Tom Jones here with us, and he is going to talk a little bit about taxes because there's some news about taxes, and we all want to keep up on that. But we've got some interesting stuff to talk to you about digital currency too. So Tom, let us know what's going on.
Yeah, good morning to all our radio listeners at WBAG. And again, I'm glad to be back here. And of course, it's somewhat of a non-tax season unless you got to pay estimated taxes and sales taxes and payroll taxes. You know the taxes keep coming. Along that same note, got an email update this week from the IRS that if you had not filed your 2019 tax return due to COVID, you can still file it and you will still be eligible for your refund. So if you haven't filed your 2019 tax return and you're going to receive a refund, you can still do that on the state and the federal level there. And just for your information, it's well over $1 billion in North Carolina of refund money that hasn't gone out. And I think on the federal level, somewhere between $7 to $9 billion of refund money that hasn't gone out. So again, now's your chance between now and October the 15th to file the 2019 tax return to still be eligible for your refund. And now, that being said, Mr. Trey Carson, one of my associates, is here with us today. And we're going to talk about central banking digital currency. And, of course, you may have been seeing more and more of that on the news. Of course, everybody knows a lot about the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency. But the central banking digital currency, and some of our listeners may recall Mr. Carson was here earlier this year talking about this. Well, now it's here. And by that, meaning that the Federal Reserve, as long as MIT in the Boston area has begun to implement the whole digital currency. And Trey's going to give us more information about other areas of the country that have implemented this digital currency, which basically means that how you spend your money, when you spend your money, who you spend your money will be tracked and accounted for. So, Mr. Trey, go ahead and tell our listeners exactly how this is going to impact their pocketbook.
So central bank digital currencies. There's a lot behind it. You've got different types of central bank digital currencies. You've got different countries trying to do it. But here in the United States, primarily what you're looking at is a system that digitizes the dollar. And for those of you that don't know, right now when the Federal Reserve makes new money, when it adds a zero to a bank account on a digital screen somewhere, that money can be transferred to like Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, any bank that is working with the Federal Reserve. And at that point, the money then becomes available for you to spend as in the form of loans, investments. You may go to the bank and get cash out, and that would, some of that cash may be a result of recent money flow from the Federal Reserve to that bank.
And Trey, COVID fast forward all of that because people may recall during the COVID pandemic, when the stimulus money went out, it didn't go out in the form of the old paper check. You woke up that morning, you flipped on your phone, and aha, I've got $1,200. Where did it come from?
Yeah, the similar situation, and what we're going to see happen, and I'll read you a quote here in a few minutes from RFK, Robert Kennedy, or Bobby Jr.
Bobby Jr.
Bobby Jr. as some call. I'll read you a quote from him about CBDCs that kind of lines up with that. But what you're going to see is that the Federal Reserve will start issuing digital currencies, which from like an outsider's perspective looks very similar to just transferring money over the internet, but it's a little bit more in depth than that because it gives them a lot of control. So what you'll see is the central bank will create a digital currency that they can then distribute to banks that then can distribute it to you. The difference is that the Federal Reserve can put like kind of like gotchas on the digital dollar itself. So even though you can still go to your bank and get some digital dollars, you can go to your bank's website and withdraw some digital dollars. Those digital dollars may be tagged with things like can only be sent to a U.S. citizen, or cannot be spent until tomorrow, or cannot be spent after July 31st. And that little dollar representation is built with that inside of it. And so you're talking about ultimate financial control. It could be situations where, your carbon footprint for this month has been too large, you can't buy gasoline. We don't like that particular vendor that you're working with because they sell extremist material or material we don't agree with, so we're not going to allow your payment to go through to that. Now, it won't be the Federal Reserve directly that's doing this to you. It'll just be built into the code, and somebody, be it at a bank, at the Federal Reserve, at the government, what have you, somebody somewhere has a button that they can press to say approve or deny. And it's not your bank saying you don't have enough money. It's your bank or someone else saying you're not allowed to spend this money or receive this money.
That's why it's central banking.
Yeah.
It's controlled. And one of the things that we as Americans, we take for granted the money we have. But if for those who still remember back during the days of Depression, one of the things that took place was when the dollar was changed from being able to transfer with gold. It used to be a time when you could have walked into the bank, showed them a $10 gold certificate there, and you could have got their equivalent in gold. Well, under the Roosevelt administration, they did away with that. So that means if you had a $10 gold certificate or $20, what have you, it became worthless.
And look, you can think that this isn't a thing that's actually going to occur, but the Fed Now program, which is the precursor, and some may even call an actual central bank digital currency, came out this month. It's not a guess anymore. It's being released for interbank transfers this month. So the major banks that are playing, guess what? All these banks that are failing, that have failed over the past 6-9 months, guess who bought all of those assets? The big major bank players, JP Morgan, Bank of America, a few others, right? So when
your Bank of America, your Truist, Wells Fargo's.
When you roll out a central bank digital currency, you roll it out to the banks that you already are in bed with, like JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon, and guess what? They're going to play along. And right here, I've got a quote right here in front of me. Let me read this to you real quick. I'll just read a snippet here about the Fed Now program. It says, according to its documents, the network features a subnet called XChain. Really unimportant for details, but that allows developers to enact rules for transferring assets, digital dollar. For example, a token can be issued with the rule that it can only be sent to U.S. citizens or it can't be traded until tomorrow.
Okay, can you explain to me, you're using some words I know that it's jargon to you, and you use these words every day. What's a token? I mean, I'm just thinking about something that I can use at the car wash.
Just, it's a similar thought. Just imagine that car wash token you're thinking about being a representation of a dollar and being digital. So like you might go onto your digital wallet, like your digital bank account, and in that digital bank account you have X digital dollars. A word you might use to describe each dollar in there individually might be token. It's probably not a term that they will use. They will just use like digital dollar or whatever terminology they decide. But it's this particular example. We can replace token with dollar and say a dollar can be issued with the rule that it can only be sent to U.S. citizens or it can't be spent until tomorrow. So if you get paid tonight and you're on the way home.
And these are hypothetical rules you're talking about right now.
Yeah, hypothetical, but
something that they are creating.
Yeah, and this would happen, like the creation of a central bank digital currency and a full issuance to the U.S. public would probably be something that Congress would have to authorize. But these rules would be just like the rules for printing money right now. They're not going to ask our permission. They're not going to tell us that it's occurring. They're just going to have a politician or an official say, yeah, this is what needs to be done, and that's policy enacted. It won't be a presidential thing.
Okay, so and what I understand is this is based on actually nothing, because there's nothing backing this, as it is our own currency, our regular currency. But you say, okay, you're having faith in this quote unquote Bitcoin type of thing, this digital currency.
Yeah.
And so the value is what we place on that. Now, I know there are people that are counterfeiting real dollars and that sort of thing now. What's to keep anyone from doing that, hacking in and saying, oh, I've got X amount of dollars, I've got, whatever. What about, counterfeit digital currency? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, there definitely is ways that things like that can occur. But let's put it into like a real world example. Let's say that I come to your neighborhood. You live in a neighborhood of, let's say, 100 houses. I come to your house. I rob your house, right? You could use that example as I've hacked your house.
Right.
I have a single entity to attack. That in the case of a CBDC, there is a single entity. It's the central bank of whatever country you're talking about, right? That's a central entity. You could also say that like a bank is a central entity, right? You can attack a bank and get money from a bank. But let's say that instead of attacking your house, the valuable that I want has to be taken from every house in your neighborhood. How do I do that? If I take it from half the houses, the other half of the people are going to recognize that, hey, something's changed over there. That doesn't match what I understand as the world to be. So we're going to continue operating as normal because most of us are still okay. Most of us still understand how the record looks. So it's very difficult to hack a large group of people all at the same time and get them all to believe or to use the same information. It's like right now, every structure we have in the digital world, Yahoo, your website, Taxman's website, everybody's website lives somewhere. Right? It's on a computer somewhere. Mm-hmm. If I can get to that computer, I can do what I want to with it. In the case of central bank digital currencies, it's the same. If I can get to the central bank, if I can get to the bank, I can mess with them. But in the case of things like Bitcoin is just a ledger. It's just a record of transactions. So unless I can change everyone's transaction history, I can't fool the system because everybody has a copy of every transaction that's ever occurred. So I can't say, oh, I've got 10 new Bitcoins now because I say I do. Everybody will just look at the records and say, well, no, Tom, you don't have any Bitcoins. We have no record of you ever receiving 10 Bitcoins. So how did you get the Bitcoins you have? They're fake. Because I haven't taken down everyone. I've only taken down maybe Tom or one person. But this theory, this idea is more nuanced than kind of how I'm explaining it. Mm-hmm. But digital currencies can't be hacked in the same way. Only single entities, generally speaking, can really be hacked up. FTX, single entity. Every other piece of news you hear about Bitcoin being hacked, they didn't hack Bitcoin. They hacked an entity. They took a person's Bitcoin. They took a company's Bitcoin. But you can't just create new Bitcoin out of thin air.
Well, what you're saying is the government is, from what I understand, this is a pilot program through MIT and some of the other central banks that are involved in this, and they see how this goes out, and then they're going to roll it out to the country. And I understand they've got a program to do that. And as we are dealing today, there's like a $600 amount that throws up a red flag. Anything over $600 transaction that you make, you buy something or sell something, or you do a transaction in your bank account for $600 or more, that's going to raise a red flag, and somebody's going to look at that.
Yeah.
With the digital currency, every transaction is going to be flagged and tagged and controlled. What you're saying is we will not be able to buy or sell unless we are following the rules.
Correct.
And they seem to be can be very arbitrary and very controlling to your bank account. I mean, this is your money, it's not actually your money then.
No. It's if you've got $100,000 in the bank right now, go down to the bank and take it out. Mm-hmm. You can't.
You not in one day. No.
No, I mean, and see, that's the thing that's beginning to take place is that, of course, who controls your money controls you. And see, and the other thing that's going to go into place here that Trey was mentioning about your social score. Now, remember, this is already implemented in China there.
Yeah.
So they're going to look at your Facebooks, they're going to look at your tweet, you look at your Instagram, and let's say that you put a word in there, President Biden or President Trump or what have you there, then those words is then going to be labeled and going to be tracked depending upon your reaction to that. Yeah. And if it's positive or negative or whatever it may be, as to how you are judged there.
And guess what? It gets a little scarier if you say, well, I don't have Instagram. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Twitter. I don't have all these programs. I don't want them. I'm not going to use them.
Mm-hmm. I'm not on social media.
Yeah. Why aren't you on social media?
Yeah. So what? Yeah, but we're going to look at you real hard then.
Yeah. Why?
Exactly.
If you're not on social media, then you're doing something.
Why aren't you using the internet? Why don't you do online banking? Why don't you file your taxes electronically?
And go ahead today and try to walk out of your house without your cell phone. Just spend 48 hours without your cell phone. See how the world works.
Yeah.
The world works in a much different way than it did in, say, 1980. When it comes to everyone, the expectation is you have a smartphone. It is the expectation. Businesses, and in many cases, aren't set up for anything other than debit cards and smartphones.
Yeah.
Cash isn't even really an option anymore. You want to use cash? I'm sorry.
And think about during COVID. You couldn't go into the restaurant, but you could pull up. And then what did they do? Then they had you to text. Yeah, I'm outside waiting. Or you text your grocery. You text whatever thing you're going to be picking up.
Yep.
And every time you did that, you left that digital footprint there.
And look, and the truth is, everyone listening, everyone here, myself included, we won't have a choice in the matter. We didn't have a choice in printing trillions of dollars over the past year. We didn't have a choice in any of this. There will be no choice. It will just be done for us. And truthfully, there's only one escape. And the only escape is Bitcoin. And people don't believe me when I say that, but I can show you a chart. I know the listeners can't see this, but I've got a chart sitting here in front of me that shows me the price of eggs, which is a very important commodity. I would argue that's just as important as oil. What matters more than your kitchen table, right? So I can show you right here. The price of eggs from 2015, July 2015. A dozen eggs cost in Bitcoin about 0.012 Bitcoin. So very small amounts of Bitcoin. But now it costs about 0.0000 off the scale, can't measure it in Bitcoin. So if I have one Bitcoin, my consistency for buying eggs since January of 2017 has been almost null and void. Like it almost costs nothing in Bitcoin. Costs a very small percentage of your one Bitcoin to buy a dozen eggs. Now look at the same chart just below there for dollars. What does that show you?
Yeah.
Dollars are eggs are $5 a carton in peak 2021, 2022. So you can hold dollars if you want to. I understand. You can hold gold if you want to. I understand. But the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin, everything is cheaper over time in the face of Bitcoin.
And that's because it protects money. True money does not lose its value. When you have dollars, pesos, British pounds, what have you, and it loses its value, it means you now have to have more money to buy the same goods.
Yep.
And if you follow the history of money in the United States, really throughout the world, from the creations of central banks, you see that each time there's a crisis, the federal government steps in. During the Depression, give me all your gold. I'm taking all your gold. Because I don't want you to use gold, which is true money, because it retains its value,
yes.
Retain its buying power. True money maintains buying power.
I mean, money is realistically just something that's hard to create and hard to destroy, that's easy to transfer. Right? So
it's easy to put a dollar bill in your pocket as
well,
opposed to putting gold coins there. And the thing that you mentioned here earlier, Mark, about the fact is the full faith. See, we don't realize, and going back during the days of the Nixon administration, when they did away with running the federal government back on gold. Up until that time period, the federal government and state government as well could not spend money that they could not back in gold. Just like during the Roosevelt administration, when they did away, when they confiscated everybody's gold, and you could no longer go into the bank and exchange your $10, $20 bill for that equivalent in gold, the same thing is going to begin to take place with the whole digital currency there. Basically, it's the federal government's way, a central bank's way of manipulating and changing the value of money. And the thing that we have to remember, as Trey said, we're not going to have any choice.
Yeah, I mean, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, they came out and said that they're in support of various central bank digital currencies. The World Economic Forum came out in broad support for pushing social changes through central bank digital currencies. Yeah. Everybody is. I mean, every government entity is pushing.
That's why you got credit cards, companies, credit cards that will not process some of your purchases if you're buying guns or ammo or what have you. Because they have tagged different establishments and said, okay, we are not going to process your buying and selling at this location because we don't approve of what they are buying and selling.
Look, shout out to Racketback Armory and Gunsmithing in Mebane. They just had an incident last month. The credit card processing company said no more. You deal with guns, no more. We give you 30 days and we're kicking you off our platform. They had 30 days to completely rework their financial intake, all their systems, with no warning. They said, you got 30 days and you're off. And can we appeal this? No. Can you explain why this happened? No. Just no. Just
yeah. There's So the politics is in everything now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not politically correct or whatever, if you're not towing the line, so to speak, if you're not doing the things that this company has decided they want to do, every company now has their own social
woke agenda.
Yeah, ESG score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're having to deal with that outside of what they should be doing, which is providing their product or service for a consumer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we can't allow our local politicians to escape these problems either. I mean, I think, and I'll outright challenge and assist. Anybody wants to do it, but I'll outright challenge Alamance County, Graham City, and Mebane City. Y'all should be holding Bitcoin on your balance sheets. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to come out of pocket to buy it, that's fine. Let's mine some Bitcoin. You got plenty of electricity. Let's set up one mining machine and just let the Bitcoin roll in a little bit at a time. And I mean, I'll call them out right here. I got their names. Chair John P. Paisley. I've got Mayor Jennifer Talley down in Graham. Mayor Ed Hooks in Mebane. My buddy Sean Ewing, council member in Mebane. Commissioner Bill Lashley. Pamela Thompson. Come on, I want them to come on the radio with me. I want to tell you why Bitcoin works. I want the cities around me to flourish and not suffer under what's coming. And if I'm wrong, you still have to deal with central bank digital currencies. If I'm wrong about Bitcoin, you still have to do it. So I'm at least giving you an option to work out of it. Because I have mining machines. They run around the clock. They don't stop.
Okay, I have no idea what a mining machine is.
It's a machine that makes Bitcoin.
And I don't know
a computer
Yep.
that makes Bitcoin, which is digital. I mean, I gotta wrap my mind. So I hate to use that term.
Hold it in your hand.
I want to understand what that is.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept. So basically, the way Bitcoin mining works, I'll give you the 30-second overview.
Okay.
I say, as Bitcoin collectively, all the Bitcoin people around the world say, we want money that's hard to create. So what's hard to create, right? You can't trust a human. If there's any human involvement, you can't trust them. So we have to rely on math. How do we rely on math? Well, we say, okay, we want to put a bunch of transactions, a bunch of people sending Bitcoin back and forth to each other. We want to put that somewhere for a non-centralized entity to authorize it, to say, yeah, everybody in those accounts have that money. So we, instead of asking a single individual to do it, we ask math to randomize it. And what we do is imagine you have 5-6-sided dice in your hand. You roll the dice. What's the likelihood that you'll roll less than the number 10 if you add all the numbers that you just rolled up? Not very good, right? Because just 2 6s gives you 12. Right. You got 5 dice in your hand. So you have to roll a bunch in order to get something that's lower than the number 10, right? If it's even theoretically possible. So what my machines do is they say, okay, we're going to try to guess a number lower than this extremely small number, and we're going to use complex math to do it. And because it's very difficult to guess that number, it uses electricity by my machines running over time in order to guess a number that actually is less than, say, 10 using math. And realistically, what this boils down to is that I can take energy, electricity from any source, and convert it into Bitcoin profitably. So if you have a generator in your backyard, you can turn on your generator using whatever fuel source you want. I can plug in a Bitcoin miner, and it'll just sit there and churn away and earn little bits of Bitcoin for me over time. All by just guessing number. No intervention on my part. Just turn it on. So if I have 20 machines running off a big power source or 1,000 machines running off a mega power source, then I'm making a lot of guesses. Well, you don't want me getting all the Bitcoin because there's only 21 million. So you want to turn on some machines too. Maybe you turn on 10,000 machines and I've only got 1,000. You're making a lot more guesses than me. You're going to earn more Bitcoin than me. You're going to suck up all the Bitcoin before I can get to it. So I'm going to turn on 20,000 machines. And this is happening everywhere. It's happened in Africa on power sources that there's no demand for power in the region, or power is too expensive to transport. Maybe there's a river that you could dam up and generate a gigawatt of power, but who's going to use the power? How are you going to sell it? Well, Bitcoin miners become the buyers of last resort. We'll come in and just buy all the power. So now every power source on Earth that isn't usable is now usable. The farmers that live here in North Carolina that raise hogs, I want to talk to them. If you're a farmer right now, I really want to talk to you because you have lots and lots of manure, and I can make methane off of manure, and I can buy that methane from you as an electrical cost off of the waste that you're producing off your hog farm, but I'm going to turn that manure into methane and make Bitcoin out of it. So you'll get the electrical cost. I'll pay you a couple cents per kilowatt hour, and I'll take the Bitcoin. You get cash if you don't like Bitcoin, and I take Bitcoin. And you're monetizing something that wasn't able to be monetized before. And it goes the same for, like in El Salvador, they're using volcanoes, using heat off volcanoes to mine Bitcoin. In Paraguay, they're using I can't remember, is it the Three Rivers Dam that's in Paraguay? They're using a mega dam in Paraguay to mine Bitcoin because it's profitable. It's all of a sudden, for the first time in human history, it's profitable to produce energy. Before, we had to produce energy that made something else that then we sold for some type of profit. I would run a textile machine, and that textile machine would use electricity, and I would sell the textile to make profit. But now I can just plug in a machine that turns the electricity into money and just let it roll. I don't have to sell it to anybody. I don't have to work with customers. I don't have to do anything, just plug in machines. And so if you got power, if you're a North Carolina farmer, you want to earn some extra money, let's get together. Let's generate energy off of every energy source in the state.
And the thing to remember about the whole Bitcoin transaction is when I go Bitcoin from my wallet to Trey's or to yours, it's just to you, Mark, that's a transaction just between you and I.
Yeah, when we get off the radio today, I'll send you some Bitcoin.
Because again, when you go from a Bitcoin wallet, from the digital wallet to another digital wallet, no one else is involved in that transaction. And it's being verified by the whole blockchain technology.
Yeah.
And that blockchain technology, of course, has been driven from the whole computation of the computers. And of course, that comes from the electricity for the energy there. Because remember, you got to still have the internet. You still have to have the internet to make that transfer there. And that's one of the things about the whole Bitcoin technology there. As more and more people have the internet and the cell phone, of course, they're going to be more and more able to do those transactions.
And okay, and it's a whole lot more. We're quickly running out of time here. I know we're going to be doing this every 2 weeks, but there's it's just since you're using the internet, what's to stop those transactions from happening?
Mutual, like if you want to, are you asking if the internet is the backbone?
Yeah.
Mutually assured destruction.
No
If America were to say we don't like Bitcoin so much, we'll shut down the internet. Okay, then you shut down the power. You shut down everything.
I understand that, but you don't have to shut down. You don't have to shut down the entire internet, but you could shut down your transactions.
No.
It's software, okay? Mm-hmm. Software can be hacked and can be messed with.
You can mess with me. You can stop me. Like you could blow up my computer and then all of a sudden I can't send you Bitcoin at that moment. There's ways around that, but sure, you could try to stop me, but you can't stop everyone. Mm-hmm. And because you can't stop everyone, everybody knows that it can't be stopped. So if you want to, like, let's say that you live in China. America can't touch you. They might be able to, like, secret squirrel backdoor touch you, but they can only touch you. They can't stop the Chinese population en masse from using something they want to use.
People can be targeted.
People can be, absolutely, but not their
your
transactions.
Device.
Yeah, your device.
Yeah, your cell phone, your laptop, what have you.
Right.
Yeah, as long as I can get to a computer, though, I can do it.
And then there is the intimidation factor, which is the way you get people that are dictators. That's what they do. They intimidate folks to bring you in line. So they got this guy on Bitcoin, and he makes world news. He shut down with that's going to intimidate folks.
Yeah, they would have done it already. It's been 15 years since Bitcoin started, and they've tried a lot of different ways, and we've only gotten stronger. Last time I was at the station, Bitcoin.
When you say they, who are they?
Any entity that doesn't the International Monetary Fund, the United States government,
Yeah.
various countries around the world.
Have actually tried
They've
to
tried.
do that.
Yeah, and one of the largest holders of Bitcoins is the United States government
Yeah, they hold about 180,000 Bitcoins.
that they have confiscated from people.
But I'll end on this note. At the end of this, anybody that wants Bitcoin, all they have to do is find somebody like me. It's almost hard for me to walk into a room with people who don't know Bitcoin and not immediately start telling them about Bitcoin, because in my mind, this is the only thing that saves you. And because of that, because I care about people as human beings, I immediately want to give it to them. So,
Well, all right, just real quickly, and I want to get information how people can find out more about this. Let's do that first.
yeah. So my website is happymining.io, or you can reach out to Tom at
Yeah,
his
and
tax
then I
office.
can link you to his website.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
right.
we
Yeah,
can
I
talk
think
on
we
the
got a
phone.
link, don't we, on my web?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go to my website and the link and the tie into trades.
Yeah. Or you can call me.
Yeah, and so I know, and I understand that. Now, I know you want to help people and that sort of thing, goodness of your heart and all that, but what do you get out of this besides that?
Bitcoin survives.
Okay. I mean, are you going to make something of value from that you want to keep? I mean, whether it's more Bitcoin or whatever.
No. Like, are you asking if I'm going to charge people?
Well, or that, we're all here. I'm not going to be here unless I'm getting a paycheck. Okay.
Yeah. No. In the case of, like, if you want me to sit down and just have a conversation with you, absolutely. Let's go to lunch. That's free. I don't care. But if you want me to, like, actually do work on your behalf, then yeah. I mean, I probably have to charge you something. But if you just want the good message, then consider me a free preacher.
Okay. All right. We have been talking with Tom Jones and Trey Carson, and the subject, of course, is digital currency, and there's more to come. There's some serious stuff.
We're going to skip a week, and then the following week we're going to go into the Federal Reserve and how the Federal Reserve controls your money, basically being able to increase the value, decrease the value. Because again, whoever can manipulate your money that you work and earn, they control you.
Right. Okay, so next time will be the 21st of July, 10:30. Go ahead and put that on your device and be with us again, 10:30 to 11 o'clock. Thank you.
At the Bet Channel.
Yeah.
Da-da-da.
We'll have fun regardless. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Stay tuned, ladies and